Hey, good evening. Today's Bible study comes from Luke chapter 1, verses 67 through 80. And this is when Zechariah was singing, more or less prophesying on what the Lord had done and what the Lord was doing. And it reads as follows. His father Zechariah was filled with the Holy Spirit and prophesied. Praise be to the Lord, the God of Israel, because he has come to his people and redeemed them. He has raised up a horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David. As he said through his holy prophets of long ago, salvation from our enemies and from the hand of all who hate us, to show mercy to our ancestors and to remember his holy covenant, the oath he swore to our father Abraham, to rescue us from the hand of our enemies and to enable us to serve him without fear in holiness and righteousness before him all our days. And you, my child, will be called the prophet of the Most High, and you will go on before the Lord to prepare the way for him, to give his people the knowledge of salvation through the forgiveness of their sins, because the tender mercy of our God, by which the rising sun will come to us from heaven, to shine on those living in darkness and the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the path of peace. And the child grew and became strong in spirit, and he lived in the wilderness until he appeared publicly to Israel. This was him praising the Lord for his prophecy. And he says, Praise be the Lord, the God of Israel, because he has come. He has come to his people and redeemed them. Uh-oh. He has raised up a horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David, as he said through the holy prophets long ago. The Lord had been speaking through prophets a long time. And just to bring to what really was going on, Zacharias was uttering a prophecy concerning the kingdom and salvation of the Messiah. This gospel part brings in some information with it. In the day it dawns, and John the Baptist, it begins to break and increased to the perfect day. The perfect day. The gospel is showing us about which we were utterly in the dark, which we were before Christ. We were in the dark. It is given light to those that sit in darkness. This prophecy is telling you someone is coming. The light of the knowledge of the glory of God. The glory of God, Jesus. The knowledge of God, the wisdom of God, Jesus. In the face of Jesus Christ. It's of Jesus. It is reviving. It brings light to those that sit in the shadow of death. Look in Psalm. As condemned prisoners in the dungeon. Remember Paul and Silas. It is directing. It is to guide our feet, a light in the way of peace, Prince of Peace, practice peace, into the way which will bring us to peace at last. And you can go to wait a second, Romans 3:17, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on. You can go to Romans 3:17. Romans. Uh, Romans 3:17, I think, is a verse. And the way of peace they do not know. We didn't know peace. We wouldn't know peace until we knew Jesus. John gave you proofs with his strong faith, vigorous and holy affections. Um, and John loved him. John knew who he was from the womb. He spoke of him affectionately, and he spoke of him with power and as a king and as a Messiah. While Matthew, Mark, and Luke spoke differently of him, John spoke strongly of him as a king. He was ripened for usefulness, but he lived a retired life. That was John. John was a hermit. Till he came forward, till John came forward openly as the forerunner, as the lead of information for the Messiah. Let us follow peace with all men. Be peaceful with all. And always seek peace with the Lord. Even in our conscience, have peace with the Lord. And if it be God's will, live unknown to the world, sin free. And you won't be sin free, but don't let the world rule you. But don't forget, we still got to go strong. And we'll grow strong in the grace of Jesus the Christ. And like it says in verse 80, and the child grew and became strong in spirit. And he lived in the wilderness until he appeared publicly to Israel. That's John. And he grew strong, became strong in the spirit. We all have to become strong in the spirit. Amen.